Aurelio Martínez. En esta época de diversidad musical, me he visto en la necesidad de hacerles llegar esta producción con mucha variedad, haciéndolo a nuestro Caribe. En el marco del reconocimiento de nuestra afrodescendencia, tributa este disco, Conexión Caribe. Y para todos los medios del mundo, música desde mi corazón.
Welcome to Garifuna Music and Talk with DJ Labuga. We present our weekly radio show every Wednesday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. We have interviews from Aurelio Martinez to Consigo, Gado Núñez, Gloria Osiris, Lord Augustin. Garifuna Music and Talk with DJ Labuga brings them all to you on our weekly radio show. Listen live on your home computer, smartphone, iPad, and notebook. Every Wednesday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook through Ronnie Figueroa. Also on TuneIn, if you don't have the application, download it for free. Welcome to Garifuna Music and Talk with DJ Labuga. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my show tonight, Wednesday, May 13, 2015. Tonight we have a very special guest from Punta Gorda town, Toledo district in Belize, Ludwig Palacio. He's a well-known member of the Garifuna community of Belize. He was born in Punta Gorda, and of course, he is the second child of Rose and Augustus Palacio. He was a mischievous, fun-loving, inquisitive child who excelled at everything he did. After graduating from Belmopan Comprehensive School in 1983, he earned a scholarship to study veterinary medicine in Cuba. After completing his studies in 1989, he returned to Punta Gorda, where he has been practicing vet for the past 20 years. So undoubtedly, Ludwig Palacio is one of the most talented persons I know, said Angela Palacio. He is a published author whose writings have been well received. He has been writing prose, poetry, plays, and skits since he was a teenager. A few of his published works include Sugarosi, a collection of prose and poetry and short stories, and the poem Mi Tierra Es Linda. He has also written a screenplay for the movie Agada, a story of a strong, resourceful, and assertive Garifuna woman. No doubt it will soon be coming to a theater near you. So, in embracing by self-taught artistic side, he is able to coax beautiful art from everyday objects that surround him. It is not big deal for him to fashion a table, a chair, a bench from bamboo, wood, or any other object that fascinates him. His repertoire also includes abstract art, which he uses to express love, unity, and environmental awareness. He's also a believer that technology can be inexpensively adopted to fill the needs at hand. To that end, he has invented and produced wood-burning stoves, solar food, dehydrators, and biogas digesters, to name a few. One of his stoves is currently, it was in the Garifuna temple in Barranco that just got recently burned in an arson fire. That's where they used to prepare food for traditional Garifuna ceremonies. It is made of a rice hull and cement mixture and can be used to cook, bake, and grill. His other invention is a biogas digester. He has captured the gases that are the byproduct of the decomposition of pig manure, and he uses it as fuel that can be used for cooking. So in addition to his creative and veterinary side, he is also a consultant with responsibilities of strategic planning, business planning, social impact, assessments, etc. This work requires some travel and has taken him to places far and wide, including Thailand, the Caribbean, Guyana, Central America, and the U.S., of course. Despite the fact that he crams so much into a day, he still makes time to lend a helping hand to those individuals or businesses in the community that need him. Ludwig Palacio would not be and could not be the man that he is today without his family that supports him 100% in all of his undertakings. So we're going to welcome Mr. Ludwig Palacio in a minute. We're going to play one song from. We have also a wonderful young man who is studying law. And he's also a music producer and an activist. He's a Garifuna. One of his parents is Garifuna, and the other one is African American. So we're going to have Lawrence Miguel Carter tonight, right after the interview with Mr. Ludwig Palacio. And of course, we're going to be checking in with Aurelio Martinez, who is in town already for this great presentation coming up this Saturday. One of the biggest dances coming up right here in Los Angeles after Mr. Aurelio Martinez received this wonderful homage in New York from the Garifuna Coalition from Mr. Francisco Avila and the Garifuna community in New York. So we're going to welcome Mr. Aurelio Martinez right in the middle of the show to check in and see how things are going at rehearsal. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. This is Garifuna Music on Talk with DJ Labuga. This is DJ Labuga straight and live from the studios in Long Beach. ¿Qué motea? Ajá.
Te que
right, ladies and gentlemen, that's the beautiful music of Aurelio Martinez, who is in town this week. Yes, Aurelio Martinez will be live a little bit later on throughout the show tonight to check in and see how the rehearsal is going for this Saturday big party right here in Los Angeles. Vemos ya, ajá. Wow, that's beautiful music by Aurelio Martinez from the brand new album Conexión Caribe. Yes. Aha! Nice! Are you guys ready? Okay, Mr. Ludwig Palacio Buitiguño. Buenas noches, caballero. How are you tonight?
Noches. Hello to all the listeners in the U.S. and Belize, in the territorio Garifuna, Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala. Hey, good night.
Good night. Thank you, Ludwig. We need to maybe speak a little bit louder so we could get a better reception.
Okay.
How's that?
Okay, I'll do that. I'll try to speak as loud as I can. Can you hear me better now?
Oh, yes, definitely. Mr. Ludwig Palacio, thank you for accepting my request for an interview. I find your biography very and exceptionally interesting. I have posted the biography on my Facebook page, Ronnie Figueroa. On Facebook, everybody could go and see it. And let's get started. How was it like growing up in southern Belize? You are from the town of Punta Gorda, so how was it like growing up in that part of Belize?
Yes, I am from Punta Gorda. I was born here on the 28th of April, 1963. I guess what is important to share is that my father, the late Augustus Palacio, and of course, Rose Martinez, Barcelona Palacio. Since their profession, my dad's profession was a police officer under the British colonial system, his job was transferable. Therefore, I was able to go from one area of the district to the next, literally countrywide, and that gave me a very good exposure to all the different ethnicities in the country.
Oh, excellent. Give me 1 second, Ludwig. Hold on right there. Let me just make a real quick switch right here on my mixing board. Hold on. Okay, we should be good now. Go ahead, continue.
Okay, yeah, and Punta Gorda, when I was growing up, was a very dynamic community, a multi-ethnic community, so it was a melting pot. It is truly a capital in terms of culture. I guess along with Dangriga, so we won't go into that competition. But literally we have almost everything that exists in Belize here, from ethnicity to natural geography, vegetation, forests, caves, keys, barrier reef, everything in a very, very small area. And also we're directly connected to Guatemala and Honduras, and by extension the rest of Central America. So we are perfectly poised to be an even more dynamic community in the future.
Wow, you sound like you are the cultural ambassador of the ambassador for tourism of Belize. That was very nice. Very nice. Thank you.
Thanks very much for that new appointment. I accept it with all humility.
Yes, sir. No, well, continue to talk and tell us more about Punta Gorda. We know very little about Punta Gorda since everybody's caught up into Dangriga. Not to take away from Dangriga, of course, it's a beautiful place, but we know very little about southern Belize, about Toledo district for that matter.
Well, it's a very tranquil community. It's small, like I said, in terms of population. We only have about 5,000 people living here, but it is, like I said, ethnically very, very diverse. I went to primary school with children from literally every ethnic group you can imagine including people from foreign countries as far as the Fiji Islands,
What?
people who came from Germany after the Second World War. Yes, and we are interrelated. So these are all our people. This is the melting pot. So Garifuna really has incorporated almost everybody else from around the world.
Wow. Wow, that's something new to my ears. And then we're not even mentioning Mennonites, Mayans, Coolie, and
Yes.
you know.
Yes, we have what people call East Indians, which of course are Indians from India originally, who came to Belize sometime in the 1870s. Some people say as early as 1820s. Fact is that they're here. We have Mayans, that the same Mayans in Guatemala, Quechua, of course, we have it here. We have the Mopan and also the Yucatec, which you know is very similar to the ones in southern Mexico, in Yucatan and Merida and those areas. As a matter of fact, story, one time I was stranded in Merida, coming from Cuba for a vacation. And, you know, being a 20-year-old, you don't really have much stress. So I just took what came with calm. So when I arrived in Merida, I was thinking, how will I get back to Belize? I had a friend at the market who I had met the year before. Merida is like my in-transit area. It's the in-between point between Havana and Belmopan, which was my second home for my teenage years. So I just began walking around Merida, and there I came upon a old couple, and in broken Spanish that they spoke, and Yucatec. I was able to perfectly communicate with them, and they were able to assist me to get to the market and reach back to Belize. So the power of language, I think, is the central point that I'm trying to share. It is good to learn as many languages as possible, and that's one of the things that Belize can really promote and benefit from.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, continue. It's fascinating. I'm just fascinated by the inside information that you're giving us that we don't hear much about. Please continue.
Yes, and when I went to primary school, our teachers were mostly the German nuns. So my first teacher was Sister Mercedes. I'm pretty certain that those of our people living in Los Angeles and the U.S. will definitely remember her as a primary school teacher. And my name, Ludwig, is a German name. And she was very, very keen in ensuring that it was pronounced correctly. So all my friends, when they used to call me Ludwig, she would really get very, very annoyed.
So
and
how
she
do you
would
say
in a very, very strong German accent.
So how do you
I
say
don't want you children calling this little boy Ludwig anymore. He has a German name, children, and it's pronounced Ludwig, children. Let me hear all of you say Ludwig.
Say it one more time.
A very squeaky voice, you know, that was kind of funny. I was only about 5 years old, you know, and all the kids, of course, began imitating how she speaks. So they would say, Ludwig, Ludwig, Ludwig. Well, that's kind of the history of my name. So I became aware of my German name very early.
Oh, wow. So how do you say it again with that German accent?
Yeah, in the German accent, Ludwig.
Oh, so it sounds like
the
an F.
V is, sorry, the W is pronounced like a V, and that was my very early exposure to my name being German, and I guess the rest of it came from my mom, who gave me the story. She babysat John Denver in Chicago when she was a teenager.
Oh.
So when she came back to Punta Gorda some 10, 12 years later, and I was born, she remembered the Ninth Symphony and the other German classic musicians that she used to listen to in Chicago. And that's the reason why we have names from that era. Like my eldest brother, his name is Quinn, and that's for Anthony Quinn, who was a movie actor.
Oh, wow.
I was for Ludwig van Beethoven.
Wow.
And the list goes on because I have 6 siblings.
Yes, wow.
That's just a little anecdote that I wanted to share with you all as well tonight.
Beautiful. That's beautiful, Ludwig. I'm going to continue to call you Ludwig the way I know it, but I'm not familiar because I'm not familiar with the German accent, so I'm just going to keep it simple. How's that? So,
that's a very good one.
Me gustaría
also, remember, we also had the Maya prints and other boats that used to traverse the country. and also to Guatemala and Honduras. So as you can see, living in Punta Gorda has connected us to the rest of Central America, especially our direct neighbors,
Sí.
Honduras and Guatemala. There were several events that people from Labuga used to come over for football and dominoes, and we would reciprocate those visits by going there. I guess I first went there when I was a teenager, maybe 15 or 16. One of the things that I did was to teach the kids there gymnastics. I used to be an acrobat back in those days.
Wow.
So I used to enjoy teaching them acrobatics, and then they would allow me to play some football, which I was never good at.
Wow.
They were very good at it, though. So, but it's all about reciprocity and sharing, which I think is a cornerstone of the Garifuna culture.
No, definitely.
And all people who like to share what they have.
Wow, that's amazing, Ludwig.
So,
thank you for that. Thank you for giving us that piece of history. I think you as a writer, we're going to talk about your writing experience and your virtuosity that you have with the pen, the penmanship, you know. So, también quiero si nos da un saludo a toda la gente que nos escucha en Garifuna y en español, porque tenemos mucha audiencia en Nueva York y en Centroamérica que nos escuchan también.
Bueno, primero quiero decir que siendo un hijo de Punta Gorda, tuve la experiencia y la oportunidad de poder compartir con los demás centroamericanos, y esa experiencia es una parte de mi formación y una cosa que para mí sería muy importante a medida que vamos integrando y desarrollando como pueblo, como naciones y como seres humanos.
Excelente, excelente. En Garifuna, ahora un saludo a toda la comunidad Garifuna que les escucha también, por favor.
Sereme lausum mutu gawinago pusent na rengo bani sereme ho miduhiyo Dangriga, Hopkins, Indura, Nicaragua y Estados Unidos.
Aha, America. Qué motia. Thank you, Louis. Thank you for that. So it seems like you have a very rich culture besides the Garifuna experience that you were born with and the culture that you acquire, growing up among Garifuna. You have acquired all these extracurricular things, that make you even more, rich as far as your personality and the way you experience life. So attending primary school in PG, right? And then you moved to comprehensive school in Belmopan. How was it? How was the transition from being in southern Belize to going to the capital city of Belmopan?
Okay, I left Punta Gorda around 1978, I think it was. So
Woo!
I left what I think I could have only described as paradise. Recite Wanasio, So when I arrived in Belmopan, it was a new experience. My father was the head of the K9 unit. He was the first head of that section.
Wow.
And I had to reintegrate into Belmopan. And I think that must be described as the height of the crisis of discrimination between different ethnicities, especially the two black nations of the two black ethnic groups of Belize,
right?
The Creole and the Garinago, which we all know is a relic of the colonial past that was there to divide us.
Exactly.
So we had to face that. My family, but my sister and I, Angela Palacio, we were very close, and so we had to take it on intellectually. So we had to really have conversations and, to be really honest, even fights at times.
Wow. So what kind of discrimination were you facing? Was it discrimination coming from the Mayans?
The Creoles against... No. The discrimination was between the two black ethnic groups, the Creole and the Garifuna.
I see.
That was a very serious thing that plagued us for several years. But I think the way we dealt with it was quite effective because we had to go back into history. And at that time, we had a teacher who I want to give credit to, Dr. Angel Cal. He's Dr. Angel Cal now. He was Mr. Angel Cal back in those days. Was able to explain the whole colonial structure and how it was there to keep us apart. So once we realized that, then we began to integrate quite easily, and I eventually befriended several Creole friends and future leaders, I want to mention at this point in time people like Philip Brackett, who was grassroots Creole. My best friend, he's also living in the U.S. He might be listening right now as we speak. And
Right.
he was the person who took me into the heart of the roots Creole culture in Tea Kettle and along the highway all the way to Cayo. That was a very, very good exposure for us.
Right.
So that was my experience in Belmopan. It was a very young, fledgling city, very small, but most of the people there were sons and daughters of civil servants back in those days. Belmopan was fairly new, so I said my father was the head of the Kina unit, and that's the reason why he was there.
Ah, okay. Excellent. Wow. My next question, Ludwig, would be thinking about early Belize as a commonwealth under the British Crown. Do you like how things are running now in Belize compared to the way it was known as British Honduras under British rule back in the days?
Well, I think that I would not like to judge history.
Mm-hmm.
I will give my position, and my position is very clear that I would always rather that Belize be independent any day than to be a colony.
Okay.
Of course, it was a colony at one point, and I imagine there were both good and bad things that happened in that period. But definitely, I much appreciate that Belize is an independent country from Great Britain. And as we move forward, we are looking to do business with the world, including Great Britain and the rest of the Commonwealth for our own. So I think that we have enough intelligent people that would like to be a part of the movement to make Belize more creative, more peaceful, a happier place to live, to reside for all who want to come and share this beautiful jewel.
Wow, that was very well put together. I love it. I love your position. I love your point of view. It makes a lot of sense, and being independent is nothing in comparison to having to be under the Commonwealth of any nation, of any powerful nation such as England or the United States. So thank you for that.
In fact, I want to add, Ronnie, if you'd allow me, I want to add
Yes,
as
sir.
well
Yes,
that one of my artistic pieces of sculpture that I made some years back is a tribute to Belize as an independent nation. What it is, I emulated leaves and converted them artistically into lights. So it's like leaves with lights, and you can appreciate like there is a renaissance, that there's a budding, something new is coming. And it's in the middle, in the heart of PG Town.
Okay. My next question, Ludwig, is Ludwig Palacio is an accomplished veterinarian. How did you develop the love for healing animals?
When I was in San Antonio, when my father was a policeman there, we had a puppy by the name of Othello. I was maybe 4 or 5 years old at the time, and we were very close. My mom, myself, my puppy Othello, and the police station, the way it was built, the kitchen was like an addendum, so there was a bridge that we had to pass from the main house to Othello. In trying to make that pass, slipped and fell to the ground. And during the time that Othello was sick, I was all sick as well. Until in fact, I thought Othello was going to die, and my mama, with keen love, that Othello would have lived. I think that was my very first manifestation that turned out some 21 years later, because I completed my course when I was 26, was to care for animals. And also when we lived in Belmopan, I did a course which was sponsored by in the late 70s, where we had traveling veterinarians who used to come and teach animal husbandry, and you can also be a vet one day. My opportunity came when I was 20 years old. I did not hesitate, and I guess the rest is history.
Wow, that's amazing. Very nice, very nice. So your heart is in the right place, Mr. Palacio. Learning about biology through your specialization in veterinarian medicine, do you feel that it gave you an edge to be more curious, therefore able to invent such things as the wood-burning stove, solar food dehydrators, and biogas digesters?
You definitely have to have at least basic knowledge about biology to be able to understand how it works. For example, if you're going to do a biogas digester, you have to understand the whole concept of anaerobic digestion, how some bacteria flourish when they're breathed. How do you use what you have? How do you do appropriate technologies? And I must say that I was blessed to be able to have taken it to even a higher level than was expected. When I came back as a veterinarian, I never knew how to even put the hammer on a nail. So all those skills I learned afterwards, and that's the reason I was able to do basic construction and things like that. My hands were very, very soft inside. So when I did sculpting and wood, they had to get tough. And these are all based on our realities at the time. So I want to credit that as well to the area, the place that I studied during the time that I studied there.
Wow, that's amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to publish a picture of one of the works of art that Ludwig Palacio, he is able to create magnificent objects and turn them into beautiful things, art from the heart. So if you visit my page on Garifuna on Facebook, it's under Ronnie Figueroa, R-O-N-Y Figueroa, F-I-G-U-E-R-O-A. You will be able to see some of the art that I am posting at this point, and it's just amazing. It's just beautiful. I understand that one of the stoves that you created was being used in the Garifuna temple in Barranco to prepare the food for the traditional Garifuna ceremonies prior to being burned in an arson fire. Isn't that true?
That is very correct. It was one of my earlier stoves. I was still learning. But that stove has withstood the test of time. And I'm pretty certain that even with the fire, it is still good to go with very minimum repairs. And I'm ready anytime to go back and do that. But really, it is designed to withstand great amount of heat. It's way more efficient than an open fire hearth. So by extension, we also save resources and save the forest, if you will, because it is 80% more fuel efficient than an open fire hearth. That is the technology that has been contributed to Marango, extension, my home, because my father was born in Barranco.
Ah, okay. That's right. The Palacio family are from Barranco, yes.
Yes, indeed. All the Palacios there, in fact, everybody in Barranco must be my family in some way, shape, or form.
That's right.
Of that I have no doubt.
The Palacio and the Cayetanos, right?
That's right. Todos somos familia en Barranco. Todo,
sí,
todo.
Es cierto. So, you are artistically inclined and are able to produce abstract art that expresses love, unity, and environmental awareness. Tell us a little bit more about that talent that you have, because it's not only the stove and other things that you have produced. Give us more details on the work of art that you produce.
Well, if I go way back to primary school days, I used to be the person, along with people like Rafael Martinez, Ambrose Arana, I think, also was one of the artists, and later on, I think Colin Nicolas from Barranco, who came as a high school student, he used to do art as well. But during our preschool time, it was mostly me and Rafael Martinez, who also is my cousin.
Wow.
The nuns and the teachers would call upon us to draw Santa Claus. So obviously, I am able to draw realistic representations. However, I must confess that I am not passionate about just drawing what I see. And that is the exact difference with abstract art. You are able to produce and generate what nobody has seen, not even you. You
Wow.
do and you paint and you produce what you feel. And then that energy is transformed into some artistic piece. And the creative processes that are involved in generating artistic pieces such as those, I must say, are very complex processes. But the product, whenever I look at it, it depends on the person viewing it. My job may not appreciate it, but fortunately, most people, when they look at it, are able to get the feeling, because feelings, it's energy. energy never dies.
Right.
And once that energy is out there and the viewer look at it, that energy goes right back into your system and it's metabolized and processed, and we end up having very, very similar feelings about the topic, about the emotions that were shared, and that is the beauty of abstract art. I wouldn't say unfortunately, but we are still behind as a country and as a people in terms of appreciating the power of abstract art. So I want to use this show tonight to promote art as a real form of art that more Belizeans can emulate and as a result generate even better pieces. I don't want other artists coming after me to be less than me. I want them to be greater than me.
Right.
And I guess that's one of the legacies that I would like to leave behind. And that comes from my grandfather. My grandfather, Francis Benedict Martinez, who I must say worked in Guatemala with the United Fruit Company. So when it comes to that, I can share a bit more.
Yes, yes.
He was asked the question, how do you know who is a good teacher? My grandfather, who was a teacher for many, many years, had a very, very simple response. After some 10 seconds of meditation, he replied, I'll tell you who's a good teacher. A good teacher is one who produced many more good teachers. That was his response.
Wow.
So I think I have taken that as a lesson.
Yes.
And I believe that we are here to make things better for those that we are associated with or coming after.
Gentlemen, we have Mr. Ludwig Palacio on the line, straight from PG, Penny, Punta Gorda town, Toledo district in Belize. And this is your weekly radio show, Garifuna Music and Talk with DJ Labuga. We're live every Wednesday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time through Radio Centro America in Los Angeles and the West Coast and lmbroots.com radio in New York. And we are able to cover the world. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very fascinating behind many powerful writings also. Can we talk about some of your published works such as Sugarosi, your collection of prose and poetry, short stories, and the poem Mi Tierra Es Linda? Please.
Okay, I'll do that. The book Sugarosi, in fact the name, and let me begin with the name, Sugarosi. It's an amalgamation of two words. Sugar, which comes from sugar cane. Rosi, which comes from serase, which you know is bitter.
Yes.
And sugar is sweet, so it's like bitter-sweet. What it basically is a compilation of poems that were written both in Belize and in Cuba that I was able to salvage, because I must confess that sometimes after I would write a piece of poetry, I am not too good in terms of storing it. So they will get lost. In fact, almost all the books I've written have gotten lost, sometimes for 3-4 years.
Wow.
Before I find them back again, and then I complete it. So Sugarosi is a compilation of poems that I have been writing since teenage, and also part was when I was in Cuba, which, of course, you continue being who you are. So I was able to be part of an amateur poetry club in Camagüey. And
okay.
There you meet other poets and you're able to share experience.
On the line right now, it is crazy. It is, I'm kind of scared because the signal keeps getting interrupted. There is a lot of people listening, and they really dig your the way you talk, the way you are bringing forth the piece of history of Belize. Really, you're putting it together in such a way that people are fascinated by it. So let us continue, please. This is Garifuna Music and Talk with DJ Labuga. We are live and direct in the studio from Long Beach, California, through Radio Centro America and lmbroots.com radio. Yes, we have a lot of people tuned in right now. Thanks for listening, ladies and gentlemen. And let me do a rundown real quick. So we have Tanigi Palacio, Miller, Young D. Rock, Wendy Miller, as well, Ernesto Green, LJ, very, very famous performer, of course, Verlaine Pitts, Angela Palacio, Hams Flores from PG, living right here in the United States in Los Angeles, is also listening. Marlon Cayetano, Farah Will, let's see, Antonia Mestre listening in Spain. She is tuned in right now to all of us. Very nice. And of course, Evan Hill, Harriet Serbio Battle in the U.S. Army. Thank you so much for listening. And Ludwig, allow me to ask you the next question. So you have also written a screenplay for the movie Agada, or Agada, a story of a strong, resourceful, and assertive Garifuna woman. That what is the status of that? Have you attempted to find a filmmaker to take on this project?
No. I haven't gotten a filmmaker to take it on yet. But definitely that's one of the things I would like to see happen. And if there's anybody out there who's interested in making a film, they can contact you or me, and we can discuss the details to make it happen. I got this story actually from my uncle, Uncle Tony, Anthony Martinez. He's alive and kicking here in PG. So it's based on a true story in the 50s, I understand, where a little bit of it, of course, to make it more dynamic and more interesting, more appealing, and put on an anti-colonial flavor to it. And it was impersonated through the Jamaican who, by extension, represented England here in PG. And like I said, it's based on a true story. It's just accentuated through my creative process. This lady was sort of mysterious. She had 4 children, which is very typical, really. If we look at it, there are many cases like that. But she was ahead of her time. She was definitely not the normal Garifuna woman of her time. She was an entrepreneur, and she was mysterious. So she was able to go to a court. She was accused of theft for stealing plantains. And in the Garifuna paradigm, nobody should go to jail for a plantain. Because the Catholic Church was so strong, they were able to ostracize her and family from the community. But she went to court, and in her limited English, was able to prove sufficient to the magistrate or a judge that she was innocent. And I think that's the humor that really is the appeal of Agada. And also it carries the sub themes of the time. Our folklore, storytelling, people playing music by the seaside, our men fishing, the cuisine. I think there's a beautiful part in there of the cassava making, and also the hudut making with uncle beating the plantains, and another one who went to sea, and all the fresh food that goes into preparing the hudut, and the fiesta, the ambience of festivity.
Yes.
Really is the colors of the movie Agada. And of course she wins her court case in dramatic fashion, because she was reputed to be this very beautiful, tall, black, strong, intelligent, of course, Garifuna woman. So she beat all the odds. And because she beat the odds, that's the reason why she has become so much of an embodiment of strong Garifuna women. And also, I guess, fortunately, my own upbringing has to do with contact and, how shall I put it, that relationship, very, very strong Garifuna women. My late mom being one of them, my grand aunt who, Nagut, I think I have kept her name in the movie, I'm not too certain, who I want to share a quick story of her, because it was like a turning point in my own life. You know, sometimes things were difficult, and that particular day my mom was quite despondent. There wasn't much in the house to eat. A swampy area of Punta Gorda back in those days, so crabs, blue crabs, but beautiful blue crabs in my eyes, came and invaded our home.
Yes. Wow.
And my mom did bad omen, and she didn't know what to do, so she was helpless. she began crying, and I imagine looking back now as an adult that because of the economic pressures, she succumbed at that time to the events of that day.
Mm-hmm.
But there comes Nagut, and fortunately her daughter here in PG, she just had a birthday. We just come from there to do this interview. I think she would be happy to hear this part because Nagut has a daughter who came from the States. She's going back tomorrow, but she's here right now. And Nagut said, you know what? In strong Garifuna, you know, you stop crying. No more crying here. Boys, come on, start the fire. So we had to light a fire. Maybe that's the reason why I ended up making Lorena stoves, which will not burn your eyes, because back in those days, they opened for your heart. The smoke would really affect your breathing, and it would make your eyes burn. But that's what it was back in those days. And she said, okay, go and cut the flago. That's banana apple. And this one, great. The other one prepared the crabs of all, you know. So we made a whole nice, delicious. There isn't a crab soup that has tasted better since that time or before. So it was a very, very wonderful experience of how to survive, how to turn your limes into lemonade. And Nagut was able to play that part that became a very central part of my thought processes. Of anything I do, really, I go back to that and I measure it, you know. If I could have done it then, the stage and the tone for whatever difficult situation there is. So may her soul rest in peace.
Wow, yes. Wonderful story. Nice. Ludwig, we have a person who sent you a big shout out. His name is Mel Mena. Mel Mena says he sends a big shout out to you and greetings to you and the family. I don't know if you remember who Mel Mena is, but he's very excited to hear you on this interview tonight.
Yes, I think Mel Mena is right here from PG. I imagine he's now in the States. I haven't seen him in a very long time. Much love in return to Mel Mena.
Yes, he says he is the brother of Melky Ann Mena, I think.
Oh, yes, of course. Good evening. All the best.
Beautiful. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have on the line a very popular man. This man right here has been able to break all records, man, and to bring our radio station down to the point that it's ready to shut down because we have so many people listening online right now. God bless your heart, Ludwig Palacio, for making this such an enjoyable interview, different flavor to our radio show, and I thank you for that. And now let's continue. Have you thought of writing a book or a screenplay about the life of Garinagu and the Creole people in Central America who greatly benefited from working under the infamous banana production giant, the United Fruit Company?
I think that would be, in my view, like a dream come true, in the sense that definitely these big monopolies had a great impact and effect on the psyche and also on the culture of the Garinagu and the Creole, and by extension all other ethnicities that were involved in making these multinational companies very, very, very rich. So I think there's a lot that we can write about. My own grandfather, like I said, was one of the secretaries in the United Fruit Company back in those days. Many other people we know that went there and back, they were displaying their wealth, be it directly or indirectly, some even to the extent of being extravagant. But definitely most of the bigger houses back in PG in my growing up years were as a result of monies that were accrued from that process of that era.
Wow.
So I think that collaborating with people like you and others that are still alive would be a very couple book that would embody the history of that era, but also something that I think would make our people realize how far we've come and how far we can go based on our history. So that would be something that would be more than ready and willing to launch head on. It would probably entail going to places like of course, Guatemala, different parts of Guatemala.
I think it would make a great book. Definitely the life of Creole and Garifuna under the United Fruit Company. Oral history is a nice but subtle way to document history, Ludwig, as you know. And with some technical difficulties right now. So I really want to thank Ludwig Palacio for having spent a whole hour, nearly an hour, with us in this interview. We are going to continue with Garifuna Music and Talk with DJ Labuga. This is DJ Labuga live and direct. And we have, of course, tonight Lawrence Miguel Carter. Welcome to Garifuna Music and Talk with DJ Labuga. We are live from the studios in Long Beach through radiocentroamerica.com and lmbroots.com radio in New York. Every Wednesday from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We bring to you the best of recording artists, musicians, producers, and musical directors behind Garifuna Music. So welcome to Garifuna Music and Talk with DJ Labuga and enjoy my show tonight. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. We want to apologize to you as due to the number of listeners who were online on Radio Centroamerica, they shut down the radio station, so we are unable to broadcast on Radio Centroamerica. So we are live through lmbroots.com radio right now. So the studios of Radio Centroamerica is on lockdown right now. It's on Wilshire Boulevard, downtown Los Angeles, and nobody's in the office to be able to turn on the radio station. But the number of listeners who were listening were the culprit. They were the ones who brought down the signal and shut down the station, and the servers are down. So, ladies and gentlemen, we promise to bring you Mr. Lawrence Miguel Carter. He is an activist, a student of law, and also a Garifuna himself. So, welcome tonight, Lawrence. How are you?
Fine. Thank you very much for having me.
Hey, thank you for accepting the invitation, and let's get right into it because we also have a lot of people who want to hear from you, Lawrence. So, good evening, Lawrence. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and your parents, of course.
Well, I was raised in Los Angeles, pretty much just California area based. My mother, she is the Garinagu. My father, he's African American. And basically, I was raised with a kind of a different perspective because I had my cultural side. Of course, my mom influenced in me, and then I had the American side that, I was able to just see as being here and being raised in America. So I look at myself a multicultural nationalist rather than just an American.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. No, definitely. You are very talented, very well polished in what you do. And, we're going to talk about you right now, but people want to know who you are. So how was it like growing up in a home with Garifuna mother and an African-American father? Just give us a little bit more of that that we want to know about growing up like that.
Well, to tell you the truth, as a young Garinagu child with an African-American father, you grow up in kind of consumed within the African-American culture.
Yes.
You're not really looking at your culture from your roots aspect. You're looking at it where I am right now and how you want to fit in with everything around you at that time. Unfortunately, I don't speak Garinagu. I don't speak a lot of Spanish, but, I'm learning now.
Right.
And the reason why is because I felt that, if I was submerged within that culture, I would know these things, and a lot of my family members, they speak it fluently, and I feel that should be something that, I should be able to do just to converse with my native people, that's
right.
Just
yes.
something that I felt that it kind of was taken away from me, but not taken away from me as is, because I could have pursued that myself. But again, me being within the American culture and the American way, that's what you get consumed by, especially as a child. You want to do as the other children do. So,
right. Definitely.
That's basically how it is growing up on my end. It's not like that with a lot of other people. I got a lot of other Garinagu friends as well, and they've completely submerged themselves inside of the culture. And I just wish I had that same thought process when I was little, because I would be where they are.
Right. Lawrence, let's do a little bit of teaching here. Let's just get started with this. So you, from now on, you will be able to say it properly. So Garifuna is the people, right?
Uh-huh.
Garifuna, the language. Garinagu is plural for Garifuna.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So
see, that's why I need to get submerged.
Okay, so when we say, there was a lot of Garinagu coming to my house, but there was one Garifuna coming to my house, right? So that's the difference. And also, Garinagu, the people, right?
Right.
And so Garifuna, the language. I don't know if that made sense to you, but that's Garifuna 101, so we could get on the right page, and then we don't confuse our listeners with those with the terminology.
Perfect. I mean, that's why I need the help as well.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. And as a matter of fact, we are so humble to have people like you who are eager to get into the movement, because there is a lot of work to do in the community at this point, Lawrence. There is the need for mentors, for people to help our young Garifuna Americans to get on with their education and to be able to do something profitable in their life, something that is fulfilling. You know what I mean? So with that in mind, how many siblings do you have?
On my mother's side, I actually have 2 brothers, 2 sisters, 3 actually. And then on my father's side, I have 3 sisters and 1 little brother, so I have a pretty big family.
Okay, beautiful. Hey, that's the Garifuna way.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Be fruitful and multiply.
Yes, indeed, yes. How did you decide to go into law school? You told me that you were in school for law, so how did you make that decision to get into it?
Well, basically growing up, I've always loved music, but I've had a profounding passion for, constitutional law, and basically being able to know my own rights. How I basically went about getting into law was I would always have these debates with different friends of mine, and I have this one friend, he's actually been an attorney for about 30 years now, and he was telling me, like, you have a great mouthpiece. You should become an attorney. And I was telling them that, people have always told me that, I've always wanted to, I love debates for some reason.
Yes.
I love debating the truth, though. That's the issue. But he was telling me that, it would be a perfect position for me. So for about a week, he allowed me to come in and out of his office to actually see if it was something that I wanted to do. And it actually was, there were so many different aspects of him helping people, and then him actually doing something that I felt mattered, because, the perception that I had of attorneys were most of them were evil, they're backdoor dealing, and all this other stuff like the mob.
Yes.
But this was the first person that I actually seen who I felt in my own heart was doing something just to not only help the people, but because it was right. And so I wanted to do the law school thing, and my whole thing was I was in fear of going to school for so long in order to do something that I wanted to do now. And so he actually brought up something to my attention, and he told me, well, Abraham Lincoln never went to law school. I said, what? He said, yeah, what happened was he was an independent study of another attorney. He was the apprentice of another attorney. And so what he did was he went to the court in Illinois, and they gave him an oral exam. And he passed the oral exam, and they gave him his license to practice law. Now, you can still do this in Vermont, Washington, California, Virginia, and Wyoming. I'm in California. Yes. And so I'm basically now the apprentice of my friend who actually told me I should get into law.
That's excellent. So, that's very, very wise.
Yes, and see, that's a major thing that we have to get out of too. Basically, believing that there's one way of doing something. There's a broad, any window will open if a door's shut on you. There's many windows around the house. You get what I'm saying? So,
no, thank you for that. Definitely, that is
a major thing that we have blocking ourselves. Thinking, well, if this door closed, there's not going to be any other aspect. My fear did not stop the fact that the truth came on another end. Hey, you can do it this way. So
yes.
Right now I'm studying under his wing, and he's basically making sure I'm prepared. He wants me to stay in within another couple of years. I've been with him for about 1.5 years now. So I'm going to stay in for probably another 3 years to make sure I have everything before I go in front of these people and say, hey, give me this oral exam.
Beautiful. Hey, you know what, Lawrence, best luck to you. Stay focused. Do what you need to do to get what you need to get to become one of our lawyers who are badly needed in our community. Let's go to the next question. You are musically inclined. What about music production? You mentioned in your bio that you are a music producer, and how did you get into that?
Well, luckily, my mother, she's always sung around the house ever since I was little. And when I first started getting into music, it was because of her. Me hearing her sing and wanted to sing, and she used to pull me to the side and teach me how to sing from my gut, how she would say, you got to sing from your gut, And
wow.
what ended up happening was I would go out and visit my father on certain occasions, and he's a musician. He could play the piano, he can play the drums, he's played the guitar. So, I've always seen music around me. Growing up further, my oldest brother, he actually started a production studio in our room at my mom's house. And so I would always want to get in with him, like, hey, man, let me get in. And he would tell me, you have to grow a little bit, wait till the right time. Well, I don't know what it was, but whenever you have a passion, that passion will burn so hard. If you let it burn hard enough, it will push you. And so I got pushed out into the world where I met up with other people who love doing music. And I met up with a good friend of mine. He was a producer for a while. And so he took me under his wing and showed me how to start making beats for myself. So because of the fact I was actually in the band, I was musically inclined with those things. So I brought them into the way I produce. And that's just, I don't know, for about 14 years, that's been that, me doing productions.
Yes, that's nice, man. We're going to have to talk to making a little jingle for a radio show, man. How's that?
Definitely. Always with that.
Beautiful. So being a human rights activist is a passion of yours as well. How did you develop the love to do what you do as a human rights activist?
I guess I could say growing up, I've seen a lot of things, especially being submerged in the American way. You get to see the good side, you get to see the bad side, and you get to see the ugly, and a lot of the times it really don't matter where you're from or who you are. If you have a certain complexity, you have the ugly already pointing towards you, and that's just the truth of the matter here.
Yes.
And it's sad, but it's the truth. And I've noticed growing up that there was more people turning a blind eye to the truth rather than actually addressing it and saying, well, this isn't right. And as a human population, it's supposed to be our duty to see something that is unjust and to call it out. That's not right.
Yes, indeed. I mean, look at the stuff that's happening in Baltimore and all over the country. I mean, there is so many instances where young black men and women, especially men, are being harassed by the law enforcement. And
exactly.
We have proof there. So there is a lot of work to do in the community, Lawrence.
And it's very, very, very sad because these are supposed to be the people who are protecting us, and you can't put a confidence in people who've shown you over the years that there is no confidence to put in them.
Yes.
If you're supposed to protect and serve, why are you not doing that? Why every time we turn on the TV there's an issue with the black community and the police officers?
Yes,
and it shouldn't be that way. And I'm taken back. I'm glad you mentioned Baltimore because the riots that was going on. So many people was on the news talking about how blacks was doing all this crazy stuff, and I'm not for or against any of this. I just sit back with a neutral mindset, but I can't speak the truth on it.
Right.
I look at that, and then I think back to the time where these Caucasians was rioting over sports games and pumpkins running out on Halloween.
Wow.
And so I'm looking at this, I'm like, well, why are you guys making this group look out to be like criminals and then look at these groups and say, well, they're just having fun.
Oh, my God,
Their team won.
That's sad. That is
sad. The truth And the truth of the matter is, it's because of the complexity, the melanin that lies within our skin.
Yes.
And if it wasn't because of that, then why else would you see someone getting shot every other day on the news? And then, not that I agree with this at all, you see a black guy step on an American flag and everybody goes to nuts. goes
Yes.
nuts, and I'm not for that, but I'm looking at the reaction. The whole America goes nuts, not understanding why he was doing it. I mean, if people went nuts over that same reaction, if off the police officer stepping on the black man's neck, then we would have no problems.
Yes.
Everybody would fix the problem because now the problem is being addressed, rather than people turning a blind eye and say, well, we fought over that flag. No,
Yes.
you fought over the freedoms of that flag. That flag represents the freedoms, but if there's no freedoms, you should be upset too.
Yes.
And so me growing up with the same skin color and being subjected to this way of life as well, I've seen it, and I've personally been through it. So I've just had the guts to step out and talk about it.
Yes.
You know, I don't really consider myself an activist, but other people do, because it's not that I'm willing to sit back and just let people talk about something that's irrelevant. If it's relevant and we need to know about it, then that needs to be the discussion of topic, not what you think you see on the media will blind you.
Oh,
Malcolm
yes,
X said it
definitely.
best. He said if you're not careful, the media will have you hating the people that's being oppressed and loving the oppressor.
Yes, well, good point. No, excellent. I think when you mention America, I think America has issues with phenotype, and phenotype being the let's see. I have the definition of phenotype right here, but it is basically the your composition, the color of your skin, right? The person who you are. Phenotype.
Right.
I think it's the color is the problem here in America.
Right. And see, in order to have a peaceful society, that type of thinking has to cease. If you want to say, oh, we didn't came a long way since the 1950s and the 1930s, then look around. What does let's not just stay in America. Let's just go just back home as well. What
Yes.
do any of our people actually own that belongs to us? And when we try to build something, how likely is it not that it actually get taken down? You can look at what they had as Black Wall Street. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? Where we had our own community out here, and it was destroyed by racism.
Yes, definitely. Ladies and gentlemen, we are listening to Garifuna Music and Talk with DJ Labuga. We have on the line Mr. Lawrence Miguel Carter. He is a young Garifuna student of law, also an activist and a music producer. And let's go to the next question, Lawrence. We don't want to get stuck on this subject because it's such an extensive topic that we will take all day. Yes. So you told me that you are taking on a project which is to have Garifuna rightfully be recognized as an indigenous Native American group in right here. You said that this designation will forever change Garinagu as we know it. How will Garifuna benefit from this endeavor that you're seeking?
Well, besides having our land, our rights to our land, we'll be able to have the same indigenous right as any other Native America within these lands. We're supposed to be able to do so much. We should be able to basically what is called re-educating our people on the dime of the people who actually stole our culture from us. You get what I'm saying?
Yes,
and
definitely.
See, we're a very special type of people because actually, if you look further enough back in history, our tribe stems basically fathered and mothered a bunch of other tribes in the United States. Okay? So one of the major things that's holding us back is that a lot of people can't agree on the timeline. And so what we need to do is bring our scholars together and actually get a proper timeline before the 1600s, because we go back before then. We go back before the 1500s. We go back before the 1400s. We go back way into the 1300s, almost 100 and something years before Columbus was even thought about.
Yes, definitely. You got a good point there, and we're talking about what's the name of this European guy, Van Sertima, who wrote about that the influx of the Africans who came from Mali. With over 1,000 ships into the Americas. They didn't reach the mainland, but they reached the Lesser Antilles and the Greater Antilles, and they were able to mix with the Native Americans, with the Native Indians there prior to slavery and all of that.
Massa Bubakari II, he was the king of Mali. He actually gave up his throne to Massa Musu, who actually became the wealthiest man in the world in any time.
Teach, brother. Teach.
He actually sailed across. He was the first people to reach the New Americas, or what they would call the New Americas. And he did this in 1311. He brought over 2,000 ships with navigators, sorcerers, sailors, physicians. The foods that's found today in the land was brought over from him, and these are indigenous to Africa. What is it? Bananas, plantains, okras, mangoes, yams, watermelons, the sugar cane. All of that came from him. And so what ended up happening is, and as a matter of fact, Columbus himself, he wrote in his second voyage that when he got here, he spoke to the Taino Indians, and he asked them, who are the black people in the land? And they told him that they were the Kalinago, or what they called. This is what they called them, the Cannibal. And so Columbus took that name and called them cannibals, and named them Caribs, and named the surrounding area the Caribbean Sea.
Oh, yes, man. So you know your history, Lawrence. That's beautiful.
Yes,
nice.
Definitely. But see, here's the problem. If everybody don't know the history, we're going off of what just the same thing they did in America, where they just whitewashed the history, and so you believe they'll tell you, oh, you came from slaves. And so that is true, where there was a ship that came from Spain that was full of slaves, but the difference was our people attacked the ship and saved the slaves and allowed them to live with us in peace and harmony.
They mingled. Yes. They were part of the mix. I want to send a big shout out to Frida Sidorov, who is listening. She is the president behind the Garifuna Film Festival, which is happening the weekend of, let's see, is it not Labor Day weekend coming up in 1 week? What is it? The weekend of the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and the 25th, there will be the Garifuna Film Festival. I'm going to put it on my page. And she also said, Lawrence, the author is called Ivan Van Sertima, and the name of the book is They Came Before Columbus. So that's the name of the book. Thank you, Frida Cedar, for that information. Thank you. That is great.
That's actually that's one of the books. There are several books. I mean, there's one by a guy named Constantine Constantine Samuel Raphael-Zeke, and he wrote a book in 1832 and 1834 about the Carib tribe, the Black Carib tribe, in the Americas. So there is multi different sources. All we have to do is get together and actually agree on our timeline, because if we can't agree on our timeline, we can't have rights to a land. They tell you come from slaves in order to make sure you have no right to the thing that they do in America. But it's real funny, because if you do your research, a lot of the Native American tribes in America are direct descendants of our people.
Yes, indeed.
And so it starts with us. And that's one of the major reasons why it's been so hard for us as well, because if we prove that, then a lot of people will have their rights here in America as well, and we'll have rights to land here in America as well.
Yes, definitely. So, Lawrence, let me ask you, so this project that you're currently working on right now requires a lot of people to come together. How can someone who is interested in helping you or being part of this movement get in touch with you? How can they reach you?
Well, definitely email me at any given time at lawrence.miguel.carter@gmail.com. Just email me anything that you have to help. If you're willing to jump in with us, we can come together and create a think tank to actually set this up and get it going, because, we deserve it.
Yes,
we deserve it. Our people deserve it. And I was talking to a friend of mine a couple of days ago, and, I was saying, it's so much money going into Belize right now. And it's funny because in 2012, Belize made over $1.3 billion in tourism. Wow. And I asked them, how much of that is going to the people?
Wow.
That's the problem. People actually go on tours and they go to different parts of the world in order to see the culture that's there. We actually is one of the people that actually still have our language and culture.
Yes, definitely.
So, of course, that is one of the main attractions where people want to go and see us act the way we act in a natural habitat. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So what they're doing is basically just putting the eyes on us without giving you what you should be getting off of it in general.
Yes.
In layman terms, they're making us play the monkey role where we dance around and they do the little documentaries with people smiling and laughing, but they're not actually contributing nothing back to the community. How many casinos and hotels is in Belize? And how much of that money is going back to the people?
Yes,
These are the questions that people should be asking. And why isn't it going back to the people, the natives of the land, where the natives have all Aboriginal rights? The UN said in 2007, if they said it first, and then they said it again in 2013, they created the Aboriginal rights for the indigenous Americans.
Wow.
And that's about us. We was here way before Columbus. So if we were here before Columbus, there were no slave trade at the time because slaves began with colonialism, correct?
Yes, indeed.
So this is where we need to get past. We have to come together, get this timeline straightened out, come up with our own constitution, come up with our own government. You get what I'm saying? And go into the UN or go into the I'm having a brain.
No problem, Lawrence.
Yeah.
But we definitely understand your point of view, and definitely if you are willing and able to join in this movement to help Garifuna to rightfully be recognized as an indigenous and a Native American group, please contact lawrence.miguel.carter@gmail.com. I think we got it right. It's lawrence.miguel.carter@gmail.com. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Garifuna Music and Talk, and this is the final question. Lawrence, what is your final message that you want to leave to the community?
Culture is everything. I found that out the hard way. If you don't know where you're from, you can't know where you're going. And you can only have a clear vision of where you're going if you can look back and see how much strength you have from your being, from your family, from your roots.
Yes,
and
definitely.
So if you have children who are of the Garinagu, did I use that right?
Of Garifuna, yes.
Yeah, of the Garifuna. Please, if you live in America and they don't know, please get with our people and get them into these language classes that I've seen online. I thank you for that too, brother, because you guys are spreading a lot of information. I spend hours on your website. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So and my son, he's actually going to get in those classes as well.
Beautiful. We are going to start with the Garifuna classes again in 2016. We are going to get a grant again because of the kind of work that we have been doing in the community. ACTA, the Alliance for California Traditional Arts, has contacted us again and said, you guys deserve another extension. So they are going to continue to extend our grant for teaching the Garifuna classes in Los Angeles for free for anyone who is interested in learning. Lawrence, we thank you so much, brother, for the time you have dedicated to us. Thank you for taking on this interview. We appreciate your kindness. Continue doing what you're doing. We need this type of young minds to get involved and do what you're doing, man. So any final message?
Definitely.
Anything in closing, Lawrence?
Yes. I just, it's very important, like you said, we need the young people to get involved as well, and it matters. The older people, they have the knowledge, but the younger people, they have the energy, they have that power within them to actually get things heard. You know what I'm saying? And that's why they're trying to get the young community to focus on other things that's going on. So we need to bring them in and educate them as well so they can take it to another one of their young friends and they can continue the process.
Yes.
That's all it takes.
Thank you so much.
Educating and moving it around.
Thank you, Lawrence. So we're going to learn 2 phrases today. Repeat after me. Aba isiani.
Aba isiani.
Aba
isiani.
Isiani, yeah. Aba isiani.
Aba isiani.
That means one love.
One love.
Yes. And then the next phrase would be Bungyu Buma. God be with you.
Buma.
Bungyu Buma. Say it again.
Bungyu Buma.
There you go. God be with you. Thank you, Lawrence. I appreciate it. Aba isiani numada. Ayo.
Thank you for having me. Ayo.
Okay, now we have Aurelio Martinez coming up next. Aurelio Martinez in the house. ¿Qué motea? Ladies and gentlemen, directamente desde Honduras vía Nueva York, el rey de la punta, el rey del show, el número 1, Aurelio Martinez in the house. ¿Qué motea?
¿Qué motea, bro?
Buti guño, buti.
Labuga.
Ajá, aquí, muy contento, muy feliz, very happy to have you here tonight. Aurelio Martinez is in Los Angeles, ladies and gentlemen. So, Aurelio, un saludo ahí para toda la gente de habla inglesa, de habla hispana, de habla garífuna, por favor.
Bueno, quiero mandar un saludo para todos los amigos de la hispana que están por ahí. Realmente que estamos listos aquí en Los Ángeles, ya estamos aquí. Arribamos anoche, pues estar contento de estar aquí compartiendo con todos estos amigos, realmente esperando que este sábado podamos disfrutar de punta a punta, de pompis a pompis. Pues muy timable, como su querida ocupación del mismo, así que me lo veo de feto, Samutile, la Luma Aurelio, ya Hama, Luma Lil Jun, Sunga, Salo, Luya, Yabe, el agua de Hama. So, Naguba, Hadu, Lugabe, lo feto, Mala, Luya, Bina, LA, so, Nahaya, Filu, Bina. So people, we're ready here, you know. I'm here in LA, you know, I arrived yesterday. So I am here, I'm excited to be here, you know. Long time ago, we don't dance together. And Aurelio Martinez is here now. So you're welcome. Saturday we have a big party. So we're waiting for you, ladies, beautiful ladies, welcome.
Yes, man. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know it already. The party is going to be this weekend, this Saturday, right here in Los Angeles. Let me give you the information right now. I'm going to put it on my Facebook page. We have so much going on this weekend and next weekend with the Garifuna Film Festival, but I wanted to remind people about the show this Saturday. Tickets are available. If you call, you can call my number at 323-898-6841, or you could also call Spice, or look him up on Facebook. Of course, we have tickets available still for this coming Saturday. And this is for Aurelio Martinez, who is live in Los Angeles for this gig on Saturday. So, ladies and gentlemen, así de que, Aurelio, ¿cómo está el ensayo por ahí? ¿Cómo van las cosas con ustedes esta noche?
Pues aquí estamos ya en el ensayo para la próxima fiesta. En esta fiesta del sábado estamos aquí preparando ya afilando los machetes, como dicen los hondureños y los centroamericanos, afilando los machetes ya para que realmente este reventón esté full Mickey, como dice, que esté completamente bien ensayado y bien listo para que la gente pueda gozar, para que nuestro público pueda sentirse bien y poder compartir con esta llegada mía, que ha sido la primera de este año y que realmente esperemos que no sea solamente la primera, sino que también sean muchísimas más.
No, definitivamente, yo creo que Aurelio tiene un cierto imán, una personalidad bárbara, una personalidad que atrae a la gente, no solamente por su música, pero por su carisma, por la persona tan humilde y tan llena de vida que es, que transmite esa alegría hacia todos. Así es de que esperamos estar ahí con usted el sábado, y esperamos también esperar a la gente que pueda llegar para abarrotar este lugar que está localizado allá en la Vermont y la 71. Ahorita voy a dar la información en pocos momentos. Así de que, Aurelio, un saludo ahí en especial para alguien en especial, especialmente a la gente de Nueva York que están allá, pues siempre extrañándolo, porque esa es su casa, ¿verdad? Prácticamente es su casa fuera de Honduras, ¿no?
Claro que sí, la gente de Nueva York, realmente estamos aquí, ya estamos en Los Ángeles, después del tremendo tributo que me hicieron en Nueva York, agradeciendo siempre a la gente que realmente llegó a tributar mis 30 años de carrera. Pues estoy regresando aquí a Los Ángeles para poder también compartir ese anexo de lo que es el tributo de 30 años de carrera de Aurelio Martinez, que realmente ha sido una gran alegría poder compartir con ustedes toda esta alegría y agradecerle a todos, a mis seguidores, mis amigos, por todo el apoyo que me han dado esos 30 años de carrera. Pues hoy, pasando por Gatos Bravos, pasando por Litariran, pasando por tantos aspectos, facetas de mi carrera, que realmente hoy la gente ha acompañado, que ha hecho de Aurelio Martinez lo que es hoy, el artista que representa a nuestra música garífuna a nivel mundial, y que realmente pues estamos aquí en Los Ángeles hoy para poder disfrutar de esta alegría de nuestra música. Y también de aquí, pues quiero anunciarles que de aquí me voy para Ceiba, al tremendo carnaval ceibeño. Sé que llevamos ahí allá el sábado 23 de mayo es el carnaval de la Ceiba, y los que pueden ir para Honduras, pues también vamos para Honduras al carnaval de la Ceiba. O sea que allá voy a tocar en un escenario de cervecería hondureña, pues ahí también vamos a estar compartiendo con ustedes el carnaval de la isla y el carnaval grande. O sea que Aurelio Martinez de Los Ángeles a la Ceiba, y después pues, luego regreso a la gira de Europa, hace tantas cosas que estamos sucediendo. Y también quiero decirte, Labuga, que voy para Japón este verano.
Wow.
Voy para el lejano oriente, Es una cuestión nueva, pero te digo, un anuncio nuevo que realmente después regresamos a Japón, que después de que fue con Litarina aquella vez, pues ahora regresamos con el Garifuna Soul Band.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Aurelio Martinez on the line, straight from Los Angeles, from the rehearsal studio. Don't forget, this Saturday, May 16th, Aurelio Martinez will be live alongside Little June, and of course, backed up by Punta Cartel Band. DJ Labuga will be in the house. Tickets in advance are $25. VIP tickets, $60. Door opens at 9 p.m. And it's Mi Palacio Banquet Hall. And it's located at 1000 West 70th Street in Los Angeles. So it's in the corner of 70 and Vermont. For tickets, you can call 718-606-5364. Again, 718-606-5364 for este tremendo baile que se llevará a cabo este sábado aquí en Los Ángeles con el artista más pegado, el número 1, Aurelio Martínez, directamente desde Honduras, Nueva York, que muy pronto estará en La Ceiba. He will be going to La Ceiba, Honduras on the 23rd of May, and of course he will be on a tour to Japan and then back to Los Angeles and so on and so forth. So Aurelio, muchas gracias por darnos la oportunidad de estar con nosotros y de saludar a este lindo público. Estamos tocando su música aquí en vivo en las tornamesas del nuevo álbum de Conexión Caribe. ¿Algo más, Aurelio, antes de que continúe ahí con su estudio?
Bueno, gracias, DJ Labuga, gracias por ese cariño de siempre, gracias por el apoyo a nuestra música y de ponernos en contacto con nuestra gente. Muy agradecido esta noche, realmente estamos contentos de saludarte, de saludar todo ese público de Los Ángeles y toda la gente que pueda tener al alcance de esta frecuencia de la radio, y pues estamos contentísimos de estar aquí en Los Ángeles, regresando después de tanto tiempo de ausencia. Pues estamos felices de estar aquí para poder compartir con esta gente y poder darles la misma energía, el mismo cariño que realmente traemos desde Honduras, con esta música centroamericana, pues especialmente a la gente de Belize, la gente de Guatemala. El saludo especial con Sungu Guaduga y Belize ya Guatemala Sungu bay lugar pela fedu algo. So Mápico Sungu, tu saludo a todo el mundo, lo abrazamos desde aquí, invitarlos que el sábado podamos reventar ese sitio, que realmente podamos gozar de punta a punta y poder compartir una extensión de lo que es el Carnaval de la Ceiba y todo lo que son las celebraciones de nuestra Centroamérica. Pues, encontrémoslo aquí en Los Ángeles, juntos todos bailando al son de la música de los Martínez, de Little June y también de Punta Cartel, que realmente estamos contentos de estar compartiendo con ustedes. Que pues la bienvenida ha sido calurosa, estoy contento de estar aquí, pues ¿qué más puedo pedirles? De que mañana que nos podamos dar un whisky ahí juntos.
Claro que sí. Tenkini abu abuti, bungyu buma, abaiseni, ayo.
Seremeti by we lama no ni wayuna gusung guadagiman.
Ayo, sereme. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Aurelio Martinez, straight from the rehearsal studio in Los Angeles for the big show this Saturday, May 16th. And also the Garifuna International Film Festival is happening next weekend from the 22nd of May through the 25th. And it's going to be at the Electric Lodge Theater, 1416 Electric Avenue in Venice, California. For more information, go to the website www.garifunafilmfestival.com. Also, 310-668-5813, extension 310, and the number again is 310, area code 668-5813, extension 310. Or you can go to the website to www.garifunafilmfestival.com. Ladies and gentlemen, so much going on in the Garifuna community. Go out there and support and make this community to stay vibrant and always alive the way it's always been. Also, DJ Berto has checked in. DJ Berto, he says, dame una mano, mi hermano, para una tardeada que habrá este domingo a partir de la 1 de la tarde en adelante en el club Q18 de la Crenshaw y la 54. Así es de que están invitados para la gran tardeada este domingo desde la 1 de la tarde allá en el club Q18. Amplio parqueo allá en la 54 y la Crenshaw con DJ Berto en vivo y a todo color. Así es de que pueden chequear la página de DJ Berto en Facebook. Está bajo DJ Berto, una palabra, DJ Berto Styly a fuego. ¡Qué motea! Así es de que aquí viene la música de Aurelio Martínez y no se olviden, tickets a la venta para este sábado. ¡Qué motea!
queso, a mí me gusta luz, tira de mi cugañá, le meso, le cube y queso, a mí me gusta luz, tira de mi cugañá, le meso, le cube y queso, a mí me gusta luz, tira de mi cugañá, le meso, le cube y queso, a mí me gusta luz, tira de mi cugañá. Bueno, ahora viene el rival internacional. Y Cayue, me quiero matar a su cate lejos. Atócale, a mí me meso. Ay, a mí quiero meter meso.
GAHFU presentó Garifuna Music and Talk with DJ Labuga. Es un programa semanal de 7 de la noche a 9 de la noche todos los miércoles a través de www.radiocentroamerica.com en Los Ángeles y www.lmbroots.com radio en Nueva York. Tune in next Wednesday again for Garifuna Music and Talk with DJ Labuga. We're live and direct through www.radiocentroamerica.com and lmbroots.com radio in New York. Wednesdays from 7 to 9 p.m.